politics of fear and hate are wrong. We love you and politics of compassion
But America,
and love are right.
we are not going back.
Hey fellow Blue Dots, I'm Sloan Roden with Raised Red Living Blue. Today I'm continuing my conversation with Lindsay Sport for our Pride Month special. Now, on to the episode.
Might sound a little weird for some people, but talking basketball or women's sports in a political podcast, but I would argue that women's sports is inherently political.
Absolutely.
Okay, you grew up playing basketball. What all sports did you play?
So I played basketball, softball. I did gymnastics, when I was younger. Believe it or not, I actually was a cheerleader for a long time. Nobody can see it, but it was really my gymnastics back. Like, I love to tumble. I love to stunt. I mean, that was like weightlifting. I hated the actual cheer part, but I love the side stuff. And I mean, I'm just from a small town and small school. You just did it all, And so I love everything about sports, even the bad. I love it. They made me who I am. It is where I got my discipline, my drive, my just wanting to win mentality. And I truly enjoy it. Like, win or lose. I love sports. I love it.
Okay, I'm going to name this. Okay, the person that I'm going to reconnect with that I was scared after coming out is my high school cheerleading coach.
Wow.
So, Anna Barnes, I'm coming for it.
Everyone hears this.
I said it. You just saying that brought up like so many emotions for me. I feel like, I was put in all the girl sports.
Mm-hmm.
Gymnastics, I danced. We lived in Homewood, so like HPR swim team in the summer was like the shit you did. Like, all the cool kids swam, or at least I thought they did. Softball. But really, like, once I started cheerleading, you couldn't play any other sports. Like, it was expected, like that was your thing. Like, we did something 10 months out of the year, and then the summer you still like went to tumbling and stuff on your own. So yeah, like the tumbling and the stunting, God, was the best part. But I felt like my parents got divorced when I was in 8th grade. My mom and dad both got remarried when I was in 9th grade. I'm an only child, so then I was going back and forth between houses, and they kind of both assimilated into those families, which is understandable when there's like just 3 of you, and then there's one, and you become part of a whole. But like, cheerleading became my family. They became my people, like the ones that like I truly cared the most about, connected with. And there are things that, like, when my mom and I are at odds, I have a hard time figuring out, like, was this something my mom instilled in me that like she forgets, or was it my cheerleading coach? Because I got to high school and mom was like, sounds good. I don't have to raise you anymore, because whatever you do, Anna's going to make you run your ass off. So there's just so many wonderful thing. Okay, I don't want to get in this too much right now. I'm just going to say it real quick. If we want to tackle it, we can. But like, that's what breaks my heart about these bans for trans athletes. I'm not talking about the NCAA and all that. I'm talking about the youth sports and getting kids in a sport and being active and being around other kids and learning just those wonderful disciplines and things that it gives you, because being part of team activities and sports like really was pivotal in my life, and I think is pivotal for most people who were part of organized sports.
Absolutely. And I mean, those are kind of your built-in friends, and sharing, common goal and common, you're suffering together, you're hurting together, you're winning together. And it breeds a different kind of connection. And it is sad that not everyone experiences that, or even on the flip side, doesn't have the opportunity to, or whether it's finances, whether it's, gender, like there's just a lot of hurdles. And I hate it, I hate it, because it was very pivotal. Even the bad parts, I wouldn't change them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. Oh man, let's get on a little lighter topic. Okay, first I'd be remiss if I did not acknowledge your UConn Final Four in the background.
Yeah. So I got some stuff all scattered in the office for sure.
I love it. Did you play college sports?
No, I actually had several offers on the table. But, you know, like I said, I'm a very practical person. My life goal had always been to run a business, be successful. And I knew, and I'm no dummy, like there was no future for me outside of that. Sometimes I regret it just because I do love it so much. But I literally was like, I'm going to go to school to go to school.
Yeah.
There was no point for me to go play for a D3, a D2, you know, just to be my whole life with no future. And that was what I mean, even that when I'm 18, that's the shit that I analyze and how I think about things, you know? And like I said, I've become more of an emotional person, but I've always been very logical and practical, you know? And so that was the decision not to do that. I mean, I remember even being in the Final Four playing, and my coach is like, are you sure these 2 or 3 coaches really want to talk to you? And I said, no. And I think I was also just done. I think I was done. So exhausted at the time. And like I said, like that's all I did, you know, was practice and play and critique. And I never quite felt like I was good enough to get to the next level either. So I didn't want to spend all this time and money and ride the bench and have no future, you know? And I mean, that's probably what it was going to be. You know, I'm a short white female from a non-recognizable school or town. Whether I was good or could play or not, I wasn't gonna be the star.
I kind of felt like you know, part of cheerleading for me is it's like, what, I go to college and I keep doing it. Like there's nothing I could do. Like I wish I played a sport that I could like pick up and play as an adult. I would kill myself right now if I tried to do anything. I also was like, I'm ready to go to college and drink and be like the wild girl in high school. I want to join a sorority and do whatever. Like I couldn't have cheered at Alabama, but I could have cheered somewhere else. But it just, I was like, I'm ready for this to not.
And I remember, I mean, even look at the next level is college and then it's WNBA, right? Look at the WNBA now, how many people get cut and waived. I'm talking about superstars. And if I wasn't even good enough to start on like a college team, what am I ever going to do? And like, even unless you're a big name and big sponsorships, they don't even make any money. Yeah. You know, like, why am I going to do that? And like, beat myself up, even though I do love it. It wasn't practical.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so UConn fan. So what kind of drew you to UConn?
What did it? There's kind of 2 parts to this. So I remember when I was they obviously being in the South, we didn't have a lot of UConn games televised. So it was UConn and Tennessee that I saw first. 15. I mean, I remember it plain as day. Me and 2 of my teammates were sitting there plain as day. And Dinah Rossi was like a freshman. And she came in. Anyway, I think it wasn't Sue Bird. It was someone else. Maybe Jennifer was on it. Somebody got hurt and she had to take over that whole year, essentially as a freshman, as an 18-year-old. She had, I was watching the game to watch Tennessee and Pat Summitt. I'm still a huge Pat Summitt stan, right? Yeah. And I watched her and I was so drawn to her in like a way I had never seen a woman play like that in my life. And that's why I hear all these conversations going around. I'm like, y'all ain't seen old DT for nothing. She had an aura about her, an attitude about her, a physicality about her. I was so drawn and I said, that is how I'm modeling my game. That is how I'm going to play. I mean, I was literally watching like this. She was pulling like at the half court buzzer. She pulled a timeline 3. She was driving. She was physical. Her passes were insane. I had just never seen a woman play like that in my entire life. And from then I was hooked on her. Yeah. And I grew to love other people. Same with Gino. And so what happened though, the real big shift is we always would go to Florida State basketball camp because Tallahassee was actually only about 3 hours from us.
Gotcha.
So it was when Sue Simara was the coach. Well, what they did when we went down to camps, they would give us just free tickets, call the office, come to any games. They were trying to get the women's program up. And so we interacted. The basketball players were the ones doing the camp.
Uh-huh.
We got free tickets. So I look at the schedule. And then I think my second year, I saw where UConn was coming to Tallahassee. And I said, that's it. We're in. Give me 6. I didn't care. And so my dad, and I will say this, my dad was so supportive of those endeavors from that moment on. So we went there, watched them play. And I literally, has to be one of the top 3 moments of my life. I got to meet her after the game because my dad snuck me in to the press room, and she was coming out, and she was a junior by now. And I think I was a junior, I think, in high school. And I met her. I still have that picture. I didn't have anything on me. She signed my Wallabies, and she was the my Wallabies. She was the nicest.
We need that picture.
Because, they say, don't meet your idols. They'll, disappoint you.
Yeah.
She didn't on any level. Any level. She was amazing. Amazing. Yeah. And she also gets a lot of hate for that mouth, and I love every bit of it, but she's an amazing athlete and an amazing person.
Yeah.
I will stand by that till the day that I die.
Same. We tried to make a Mercury game last year because Steph and I both were like, this is gonna be it.
I know.
And we just the time they came to Atlanta, my dad surprised us and we went to Vegas, and saw the Aces on a Saturday, Sunday weekend. It just couldn't make it work. But it's okay.
And I've seen her play so many times. And so from that year on, so that same year, we went to my dad and another dad and my other teammate, or she was 2 years younger than me. She was also obsessed. We went to the next 4 Final Fours, Atlanta, Texas, Tampa, and watched the whole, and so I saw her 2 years. So the biggest one was when it was Sue Bird, Swin Cash, Diana Taurasi, and Strother, and so I met Sue Bird and Swin Cash too in the stands because my dad took me. He has no fear. And I'm like, we're gonna get arrested, But I got to meet all these people I'd been watching, and it just solidified everything. I was just obsessed. There's no other way to describe it. She is one of my favorite athletes. She will go down as my favorite athlete ever. And so it's really her more so than UConn. But then you just kind of get to know everyone else and stick with it. And they're like, oh, you're a bandwagon. I was like, I really wasn't. I've also been watching her play for 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years I've been a fan. I didn't jump on anything. 20 years. Yeah, I've gone to probably 6 or 7 Mercury games, have her autographed jersey. I wear it. You'll still see me in it sometimes. And all my friends are so fun and supportive. We do that as a group together, and then ran into you at the ones, this year, Birmingham and Sweet 16 and stuff like that. So I just try to make it a priority to go and support the sport when I can. And we're actually going to New York. I think it's going to be the Liberty's last game and have tickets to the Liberty and Mystics. So we're going to make a New York trip this year.
We might. Don't tell me.
Let's go. Right at the end of August, the beginning of September.
We went last month for the opening game. And
I saw that. I was like, we're going to be there soon.
The rings and the banner. My dad had never been. I was kind of pissed because
Ellie the elephant. She's the star.
He is the best. He was up there and went to 2 Knicks playoffs game while he was there. And I was like, well, shit, now I can't thought I was bringing you to something great. But yeah, we went to our first Liberty game in 23. So the year that JJ came, Stewie came, Sluty came, and we were sold. Can't get enough. Do you have a W team, or do you more follow the players?
So I'd say it's really more, obviously it was the Mercury because Ryan was there. So I have everything Mercury. Now I don't really know anyone on that team.
Yep.
This year obviously I do like the Liberty. I like to watch them, like how they coach and like how they play. I'm really now I've really been drawn probably to the Aces more than anybody. Just this natural and now Aaliyah Nye from Bama's on there, and I freaking love her to the moon. She's so amazing to me. So I think And obviously I loved Paige from UConn, but I hadn't really got on the Dallas kick yet. I don't know what it is. Like, there's like a block or something. Like I think I'm naturally drawn to like the Aces above anyone else, but I still enjoy watching everyone play. So I think I'm just going to have to find a new like team or player and go hard, because almost everyone from our era is gone.
Yeah.
That's older than us. You know, there's some younger ones that I saw, but like all of all the players I grew up watching are now coaching or out completely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of have to reinvent that a little bit. I am just naturally drawn to the Aces a little bit. I just don't know if it's Becky Hammond. I'm sure it's Asia Wilson, Nyes there. I just love what seems like a great team dynamic.
Yep.
And very supportive and not ugly to each other. And I think I'm always kind of naturally drawn. And I'm always naturally drawn to a little bit of like the showy showmanship a little bit. Now, we did go to a lot of Chicago Sky last year. We went to 2 games because I'd watched Reese and Cardozo a lot, and we really enjoyed them, you know. So Sky are the Aces.
Yeah. Last year, I kind of had my teams, and then in the off season, kind of
everybody changed.
Well, really, I was like, loved Liberty, but really on the Western Conference, and my top 2 were Aces and Phoenix, and then, you know, D retired. BG goes to Atlanta. Tosh Cloud is now in LA. You know, Copper's hurt. I'm like, I can't. So I'm like,
I love Natasha Cloud too.
I mean, talk about a dog. So like, I'm just really like, we're like pulling for Liberty, and then we're just like, other than that, just watching.
Yeah, same.
Kind of just like cheering for who's playing.
Yeah, that's literally same with us too. We still have like both of us have a Phoenix Diana Taurasi shirt. I've literally made Alana. I forced her for so long to now she actually enjoys it. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. I said, listen, we didn't even have TV, you know, and I was like, I need to get back into my sports roots. We haven't watched any games. I love watching football. I don't watch baseball, but that's about it. Everything else I'll watch. And I was like, I want to get back to my sports. And so now I've kind of drug her down that path.
Yeah.
But she does love it. But she does definitely likes the flashy, the pretty ones. She's very girl, like when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. She loves Natasha Cloud. That's one of her favorites.
We're going to an Atlanta game, maybe at the end of this. I don't know. I got to say, but it's when the Liberty come. But we're really trying to show them some love being next to us.
I know. Same.
It's I don't know. When BG announced that she was going to Atlanta, I was like, something has to be brewing. Mm-hmm. I hear Gateway Center is a great vibe, but it only seats 3,500. I don't know. It would feel awesome. So I don't know. Steph's been like, she's like, don't sleep on the dream. I really like this new coach. I don't know. So we'll see. Speaking of Tosh Cloud, and I might be wrong on this, I believe she was one who sat out the 2020 season to protest and work in the Black Lives Matter movement. Did y'all watch the Power of the Dream documentary?
Yes.
Just talk about something that is so impactful on so many levels, from like figuring out how to play in the wubble. That's the women's bubble for any of y'all that don't know. To negotiating that 2020 CBA. They dedicated the whole season to Breonna Taylor. And then the Dream essentially going against one of their owners, Kelly Loeffler, whatever, and helping to get Raphael Warnock elected. So it sucks that women's sports has to be political, but it always has been.
Yeah.
I don't know if I thought any of that.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's so, I mean, not even starting at just the bare minimum of like discrimination, you know, and then racist behavior from even fans, and it's just, everything about it is from like, and then, you know, majority being, you know, there was a big, like, I'm not trying to spend a lot of time here, but, you know, a big controversy earlier in the year on the college level with like Hannah Hidalgo making certain comments about the lesbian population, and then a lot of her team left, you know, and like, it was just like,
I missed that.
Oh yeah. And
Olivia Miles left?
I think so. They won't come right out and say it, but I think so.
What go? Don't do me
Not a fan. Not a fan.
Shit, that sucks.
I think she had reposted something Candace Owens said about gay marriage or
Fuck that bitch.
and like, girl, half y'all team is so I think there's just a lot of controversy that surrounds it. And I think also people may even protest just because like most of the league is gay, and so or more black or more man present. I think there's so many avenues of politics in it.
Okay, so me as a woman, or kind of go back to what I was talking about earlier. I've been conditioned my whole life that how I look, how I present myself, having to be skinny and pretty and wear the right things. And if that makes me worthy in society, and I have taken that, and it's like, well, this is what makes a woman a woman. And then somebody comes and does something differently. Then it now shatters everything that I have built up and that I think makes somebody a person. And I think that's where a lot of this hatred comes from.
Yeah.
And that is like talking from somebody who has had to break down like my own things internally within myself.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm not, an expert. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist, but my issue, one of the things that I see that can be harmful with the attacks on trans athletes is it's going to make it even more acceptable in society for people to come out and misgender cis women, even if they are masculine presenting.
And it's happened already several times.
It already happened. It has happened. We have fallen into that before and have had to take a step back and do our own thinking and reflecting and admitting that within ourselves. Steph and I, we've had to do that. Honestly, our whole opinion of Brittany Griner changed when she was detained in Russia, and then just kind of had to be like, God, we fed into those narratives that she was tall and black and masculine presenting, and of course a woman could never be that good, so she of course has to be a man. And the only thing I know to do is learn and admit wrong, and there's probably a little bit of projecting on me that I fell into that, so I'm see and recognize and hear when others do as well.
Yeah, same. And I've even had to cut, not so much now, but as I was evolving and really understanding, especially around the Black Lives Matter movement and things like that, I had to there were even certain biases that I had to discover about myself. I've never been someone that you would think is obviously openly racist or even have any racial tendencies. But I realized how some even patterns and things like that, I bought into, or I said this or would assume this. And I had to go through a lot of growth and listen and be supportive. And, I just think it's so unfair on any level to not listen to the person, whether it's something objective or something easy. If someone's telling you that's how they feel, that is valid and that's enough. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to go with it. But if they're feeling this certain way, that's enough in and of itself. And, I think so often we're oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And so I think through all that, I've had to even untrain on bias I've had on mine. Because even goes real story, even about Brittany Griner, I didn't really like her in college because obviously she was beating up on my UConn, at Baylor. I'm she's not even that good. She's just big, I get mad. I'm well, oh yeah, she blocked. She should. She's 7. So I'm a hater a little bit, but as a person, that's one thing. I didn't like her as an athlete, but people were attacking her because of the way she looked or the way she presented or something that almost her getting caught with a freaking cartridge which over 3/4 of America is probably done, but you're pointing fingers like, oh, that's just stupid. I'm like, oh, but you sitting at home is fine. It's kind of one of those things like, what's okay, you know, if you're white and rich, and then if you're not, and it's that. It's drugs.
Hey, fellow Blue Dots, we would love for you to connect with us on social media. We're on Instagram at raisedredlivingblue_pod and TikTok at raisedred_livingblue. Okay, back to the episode.
I feel like when we've talked before, or I've seen you kind of post some things, it sounds like you kind of just started either like getting political or speaking out. What was that, like catalyst or something that was like really important to you that made you feel like now's the time?
Yeah, I think for me, I was never really political. I didn't really even understand, because also like I was never, and this goes again to like the media, the news, I was never a TV other than sports.
Yeah.
Didn't really watch TV, did not watch the news. I still don't watch the news. And so not a news watcher, didn't really know. You just grow up. I just grew up Republican. That's what I knew. And I remember even in high school, there was, you know, this
that's what
family.
a Christian family does.
Yeah. There in high school, there was this girl I was friends with, and her parents were very liberal, very Democratic. Like I think he even ran for, you know, some type of Democratic city council. And it was like they were going to hell. Like, I remember that. And I remember thinking, that was the first thing I triggered, like, why is that a big deal? But it was like, if you were Christian, you were Republican.
Yep.
You were Democrat, you were a murderer or something like that. Literally, that extreme. And that is just what I thought. And I'm like, oh, how could someone go against Christianity? And so again, really ignored most of politics. I think it was the first wave in was COVID, the BLM movement, the things like that. And I started hearing other perspectives. Mm-hmm. And that was my first intro to realizing my privilege, essentially. Yeah, I, had some struggles in life with the queerness and with all those things, but it's not really comparative to people that are being tortured. Yep. And so I try not to relate those two, essentially. And it was when I really started listening, talking to people, just really listening, just not putting an opinion, just listening, figuring out some of my biases, to where I started paying attention more. Prior to that, it was the 2016, that was the first time I ever voted, and I'd probably missed 2 elections. And I was like, I was devastated. But 2016 wasn't even as bad as 2020 and 2024,
Right.
So really, and I still never spoke out a lot. I remember, so when I was in fitness, I had a whole nother Instagram account and Facebook just for that. And I had thousands of followers on that account. And way up there. And I remember I posted something, and I didn't care. I posted something about being very pro BLM, very pro everything like that. And I think I lost 3,000 to 4,000 followers from one. It was it wasn't even, it was a very honest post. It was literally a black square with a white heart.
Yeah.
And lost 3,000. I'm like, all these racists, I'm not going to say what I said, but MFers, I don't want them following me anyway, because that is absolutely not what I stand for. I've never thought of myself as right. Like I said, growing up in sports, I played park league, city league. It's very, very inclusive, I just did it. And I was one of those people that didn't see color, but I didn't realize that was offensive. I didn't understand the turmoil. And so it was really learning from that. That was the first thing I opened my eyes. And it really wasn't until the last 2 years that I really started paying attention, really and truthfully. And I still don't know. I know what I feel empathetically as a person. I know right or wrong. I know the things I were taught. Yep. I don't know the names of some bill. I don't know 17.1. I don't know the legality aspect of politics. So I'm trying to. And I honestly, I even said a lot. I get a little carried away. Obviously, I'm an all-in type person. And through this last election, I said, that's it. I'm getting into politics.
Yeah.
That's it. I want to run for something. Don't know what, don't know how, but man, let me be the ideal candidate to rock somebody up, And so I'm still kind of researching that, honestly.
I did the same.
I signed up for a call, like I did all these things, and so I'm still looking. And even as early as this morning, I told her, I said, look, I got to understand what's even goes. I live in Homewood, going on all these things, because I'm starting to see all these signs like Ward 2, Ward 3, City Council, Mayor. And I'm like, I don't even know who these people are.
Okay.
And I'm like, what is the difference between the ward and this? And I was like, I got to look it up. That's my task over the weekend, to look it up and then to see what I can get into for the next one, And so that's just how I am, and I'm like, what better person to kind of speak and fight for these injustices is someone like me. Like, if no one else will, I will, and so I'm still learning. Like, I'm still learning the legality. I'm still learning about how things affect things, but I just know what being a good fucking person is.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's it. And that's what it comes down to. And that's always what I'm going to vote, is who is a good person. And I even say that to the day, like when I'm working with agents in here or talking to agents that want to come here, that is my number one priority, not what volume they do, but are they going to fit the culture? Are they going to bring my culture down? Are they I want a good person over a good agent, because I can teach anyone how to real estate, but I can't teach you those core good things. Like, you have to figure that out. So I'd rather take a good person that sold nothing and turn them into a rock star than get a $20 million producer that's a terrible person and terrible representation. And that I will stand on that facts. And you can ask anybody that comes in here, and I stand behind that. And my leadership and my ALC is the same way. We 10 times rather have quality over quantity. Any day, the quality is better.
Yep. Okay, I just sent a group text between you and one of my best friends from college, English. She's actually been on the pod before. She runs political campaigns, so she'll be good for you to meet with. We should all just get together, but just kind of like, what does this look like? What can I do? She can introduce you to the president of the Jefferson County Democrats. I had lunch with them last year when I was kind of thinking about it, but that'll just give you somebody in local politics and can
absolutely. Because I really don't I just don't even know where to start, how to start, and so that's what it is. And I'm just very moved by things. Like, I'm an act type person, and I'm all in type person. So that's what, if something gets to me enough, and I always say, and I preach this in here too, I had a real bad accident back in 2016. And since then, my whole views on a lot of things have changed. Mm-hmm. And I used to kind of a complainer. I would just complain or unfair or whine and just, someone I would hate to this day. I was just bad, not really in public, but at home, just feeling sorry for myself about things. Yeah. And from that point on, it was just like a switch. Yep. I was like, I am never going to continue to complain multiple times about something without taking action. If I am not happy with something and I'm complaining, I'll give an opportunity to fix even a second one. And then if they don't change or the situation doesn't change or whatever, I have to.
Yep.
And I have stuck by that to that. And I tell them this in here, like, if you are fussing about something, you are complaining about something, take action. Yep. I just can't, I'm not one to sit by and complain and feel sorry without doing something.
Yep.
And it just changed my whole mindset. And I'm so grateful for opportunities. Like, I try not to complain about anything. I may fuss, but I'm going to say it to your face and then I'm going to fix it, but I'm not a complainer. Yeah. And you can ask anyone, no one these days will hear me complain about anything as far as something happened to me, because a victim mentality is not for me. If you are so upset about things, or you think the world or you're not happy with something, change it. Change it.
It can grow so fast, like a virus. It permeates everything. It affects your outlook on the world. I have to really make a concerted effort to not complain or change my thinking around things, so I don't fall into that as well. When we're around people that do that, we kind of have to Steph and I, we have to kind of take a step back and almost find equilibrium again, not metaphorically, saging the room kind of. And just that's not the viewpoint and the mentality we can have. It affects your personal life. It affects your business. It affects your relationships. And at the end of the day, people don't want to be around that.
No.
You
No.
know,
I had a friend like that too, just very, she'd come to me for a lot of advice. And I realized it was just kind of like a hit in the face type thing. Every time I'm offering her a solution, she is coming to me with a problem before even listening to the first one. And that's when I knew she doesn't want to change things. She's just dragging me down with her. And I literally cut it off.
right.
And I'm not afraid to cut off like that. I do it all the time. If it's not certain, like you, like I can't be around negativity. I can't be around toxicity. I can't be around drama. It's not me. It's not anything I stand for. If you are going to sit there and talk to someone, you better be willing to say it to their face. I'm always the one in the room. If people are like bashing someone or talking to someone, I'm like, well, have you talked to them about that? Don't be talking about somebody in front of me, especially one of my friends or people, because I'm not the one to go along with the train.
Yeah.
I will call you out in a heartbeat. I am loyal over the day. And so, like, if you got a problem with somebody, you need to address it. Not talk about it, talk to them, and those are just things I stand on. And if you found someone that said I didn't, they're lying.
Right. I'm an Enneagram 8, so I have a good bit of that in mind as well. The speaking out against injustices. Like, if you want somebody to co-sign, I'm not your girl. It is harder for me to just like agree and go along with it, because sometimes like me fighting isn't the best, but like it takes so much to swallow that. But like loyal, like I will fight somebody, but like if you want me if you're asking me to be in a room, it's because you need to hear my opinion. I'm not your girl to just go along with something.
One of my friends, Rachel, we were sitting there and I just like randomly made a statement. She said, Lindsay, you know what? I said, what's that? She said, sometimes I wish I knew what you were thinking and knew your opinion on things. And we just laughed because I will give my opinion on everything. No one has to wonder where I stand on anything. If I love you, you know it. If I don't like you, you know it. Like, if I'm into something, not into something, like, it. Like, and so that's what it just is what it is, and like, I'm not going to go with it. I just like, I'll give my opinion. Like, don't ask me if you don't want it.
Hey, fellow Blue Dots, don't forget you can find all of our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button and we would love a review. Okay, now back to the episode.
You starting to speak out a little more politically, and I think you come from a really good point. One that in my head I want to do, I just need to put a little more in action. And it's not from that viewpoint of like attacking somebody. It's from the stance of like speaking out for somebody or lifting somebody up or shedding light to a situation that somebody may not have experienced. Have you been concerned about how it'll affect your business? Have you had any backlash? Do you care, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I always care, when it's up to livelihood. It is what it is. I think for the most part, most of the people weed themselves out on their own. And I have had zero, I don't know, I guess I wouldn't know what I haven't gotten because of it. But the people that I work with, whether they're red, blue, anything on, they have never been anything but kind. I have not had any hiccup with any client, and more so even like ones you would not think. I have a ton of very just blue dot clients that you wouldn't think. I mean, multiple families that I've sold in Ross Bridge with kids.
Yep.
They vote blue, and people you wouldn't even think, and so, or like just from our stereotypes, and I prejudge too, I'm just as guilty of it. And it's like, I think maybe there's probably only been like 3 or 4 actual, red clients that I work with, but it was pleasant and it was fine. Nothing came up or anything. But yeah, I'm sure there's people that don't work with me because like I try not to, even as passionate as I am and things I agree or disagree with, I'm never going to be the one to be ugly to someone about something. You're not going to see me reaming someone over a choice they've made, whether I agree or not. And so And that's what it comes down to. Now, if they don't want to work with me out of choice just because how I choose to do things, like that is just something I can't control. And it could even be, it may not even be again, maybe like some people would just rather work with a man than a woman. Some people would rather work with a woman than a man. It's just personality. But as far as I've had no issue with any client that I've ever had. I don't know the ones I've missed out on or thought about. I do get hesitant, posting stuff like that, even the pride stuff, like, because last time I posted anything political, I lost 3 days. And so it's like, but I received the most support.
Yeah.
Like I said, from people you wouldn't expect, like my kindergarten teacher, my pastor, people that you would just not assume. And so, I worry about it and I think about it. It's always in the back of my head. But like I said, I'm not doing anything wrong by caring about things I care about. you're not going to be able to point a finger at me to say like that I'm obnoxious or not understanding or not. Like I said, I've worked in psychology. I can understand things and I know the way people tick and move. And that's what I actually did a talk this last Tuesday in the office on like emotional intelligence and how that applies to sales and everything. And I tell them, 9 times out of 10, if someone's treating you poorly or you're having a hard time with a client, there's something else going on. Most of the time, it's not you. It's not you. And as much as we want to take it personal, I take things personal. I'm not faulting people for that. Is you got to get down to the bottom. And I was giving them a couple of scenarios like that, had some hiccups. And when I really dug in, it was a completely another issue, not even related to anything about me or real estate. It was something personal. And we just happened to be on the brunt of it. And so, and how to, tie that in. And the same thing, like I'm never going to be ugly to someone, about that unless they give me a reason to, or approach me. But so I try not to let it bother me. Obviously, I'm very aware of it. Have had no issues thus far, but again, who knows?
Yeah. I know. I think that's a great mentality of like, you don't know what you've lost. I think there's a little bit of, fear of the unknown. Yeah. I don't know, gosh, where I stand on it. And then I'm one that like, if I overthink it too much, I just like freeze. And then there's just tension. So I've just not said anything for some things, and so I don't know. I need to be a little better about like trying to find like my voice and how it's presented. I've also unfollowed friends because of like what they post, and I don't want their Facebook persona to impact how I feel about them and our personal relationship. Some people will be like, well, then you shouldn't have a personal relationship if they're voting against your rights. And I'm like, I'm a pretty cut and dry black or white person, but that lacks so much nuance. It's just a little too black and white for me. We don't have the luxury of cutting off every single person who votes Republican, or like we would have no friends, maybe clients or community because of where we live. I need to do better about what is kind of the voice I use behind it, not just being like, well, I record a podcast once a week.
Yeah. I did. I'll be honest. I did unfollow and unfriend a lot of people, and but it wasn't because of their view. It was their tone and the things they were regurgitating that were so hateful.
Yeah.
I have no tolerate for anything hateful, and I just didn't want to see it. It wasn't beneficial to me or anyone, and I didn't want to be lured into the argue or the fight when I know it's going nowhere. And so I did, unfriend and unfollow a lot. They probably don't even know, and I still get multiple friend requests a day, like no lie, people I don't know at all.
Yeah.
And so I literally go to their profile and I look. And if it's just whatever, and even if I can tell different things, but if there is anything hateful or propaganda on there, I will not accept it.
No. Like you have freedom of speech. I have freedom of my timeline and my feed, and I've got to protect my own safety and mental health. Is there anything kind of brewing things in the news, what's happening, anything that like gives you pause right now or you feel really like fired up about?
Yeah, a handful of things. I just don't, like I just don't like unfair things. I just don't. It just gets under my skin. So whether that's like, people being run over in the streets for protesting, or whether, just yanked out or tackled and things like that, I just think, you can't just take rights away from people because of things, and then you have all yours and not expect any retaliation. And so just watching recently all these like protests and I think I always struggle, and I laugh about this too, even in like TV, like we try to get into some TV shows, and I struggle sometimes if I don't like the lead character, right? So like I struggle if I can't get behind a lead character, like just someone impulsive, irrational, that thinks about no one but themselves. And that's what I think about Trump. He's the main character and I can't get behind that. And that's relatable. And so like there's been other politicians I may not agree with, but they're trying to do things for the good of the people. It's not like that now. It's not for the good of the people. It's ego driven. It's prideful. It's taking just advantage of the weak, the people who have no voice, or the voice has been told it doesn't matter. And so, God, I mean, there's just so many topics in that, but that is the underlying theme that will get me bowling. Is no due process, unfair treatment, unfair assumptions, someone abusing power. Like recently, I just literally saw it yesterday. The Southern Baptists are trying to get rid of gay marriage. But let's not talk about your pastor that just got arrested for pedophilia. Yeah. Like, why are you so concerned with these things that don't affect you? And these things affect the families in your church.
But it's okay that like everybody gets divorced. And that's probably a bad thing. But like, I brought that to my mom one time. It was not good because she's on marriage number 3, but was, damning me to hell. And it was like,
it's picking and choosing what fits your mold and what fits is okay for your thing. And same thing. Like you can't, everything, like I said, I know the Bible, I studied it. Everything that Jesus represents is not this. He didn't say, feed the hungry, but make sure they have food, like everything he did. Jesus was basically arrested because he caused a disruption to the status quo. Yeah. Because he challenged the people in authority. That's why he was arrested and crucified, because he was doing things that they just did not like. He told them they were greedy. He's healing people. He's feeding people. He's loving people. And all the hypocrites and Pharisees just wanted to take all the money. And that's why he was protesting. Essentially, in today's terms, he was protesting, got arrested, and crucified because he went against authority doing what's happening now.
That was powerful, Sport. Powerful. That was good. Thank you for your time this morning.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it. It's always good for me to chat like this. Is good reminders, and, even uncovered a few things in it, learned about you, which I love, and I love knowing about people, what makes people who they are. And we all have stories. So it's fun to get to share sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're awesome. Keep being vulnerable. I think I'm going to get up out of here and leave first thing in the morning to get ahead of beach traffic. So if the weather's good, I'll see y'all at Sidebar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I told Alana this morning, I was like, if it's like raining and storming, we'll just open up the downstairs to the back porch and have a little get together at the house. So I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, if it's raining, I'll text you and find out. Any last words before we?
No, I just appreciate, you giving me a platform to speak, and, I don't take that for granted. And like I said, it was something, all these things are very important to me. And so I just want to do any little thing that I can and get to share. And also just people that have preconceived notions about people, like, when you're posting those hateful things, you're posting about me. I'm a real person with real feelings. And I think as tough as I am, as cold as I can be, like, things will still affect you and you don't even know it. And that's what I would like to challenge everybody is, like, things may not affect you, but you don't know how your words can change someone's life for good or bad. Yeah. Because there's moments of things people have said to me throughout the years that I will never forget, good and bad. And our mind works crazy in memories. You don't know what someone's going to leave a lasting impact. So I hope that people can find like the positive and things like that I can, my whole life mission, especially when I took on this role, is my why. You know, a lot of people say their family or money, but my big why in life is I want to live. I do the things I do because I want to live a big life while impacting others. Everything I do to some degree affects someone else, and I want to impact in a positive way, always.
Oh, gosh, what a wonderful thing. That is so beautiful. Thank you for your time, for your heart, for sharing. You know, props to you on this journey of leaning into your emotions and being vulnerable. I mean, it's so true. Vulnerability truly helps like attract people to others and create those connections. I mean, so what you're doing is making an impact. So don't ever forget that. And again, I just appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You be good. I'll see you soon.
All right. Sounds good.
Bye.
Hey, fellow Blue Dots, thank you for tuning in to our Pride Month special. You can find all our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you like what we're doing here at Raised Red Living Blue, hit that subscribe button and leave a review. Connect with us on social media via Instagram and TikTok. Keep up the fight. We will see y'all next week.
Politics of fear and hate are wrong. We love you and politics of
But America,
and love are right.
we are not going back.